Okay.
Okay, hey, what's up, everybody? I don't even know what to call this podcast. The name of my podcast is Real Power Dynamics, but this is kind of non-canon to the podcast that I've been doing for most of 2019 and 2020. Uh, there's so with there's the news broke last week with Ice Cube, and he got mad at the Democrats all this stuff. So I thought a conversation needed to be had. So the two people that came to my mind first were my friends Brandon and Lynn. So to talk about these political happenings a couple weeks ahead of the election, and to just kind of break it down, dissect things, and just make sense of everything. Because right now, a lot of stuff doesn't make sense to me. Um, and I went to college with both Lynn and Brandon. We went to Dominguez Hills. We graduated together, political science majors. So
Mhm.
we're a little bit um, learned in the field. Let's just say that. Um, so first of all, let's talk about these Ice Cube comments and the controversy behind them and all that stuff. And how do we feel about that? And I'll start with you, Lashonda, and then we could go to Brandon, then we go to me. But like we all had opinions because I saw it on social media. So like how do we orate that to the audience? Our opinions.
I think it's still mine's is still developing because a part of me wants to believe that he has good intent and that, he's just kind of going about it ignorant. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but in the literal sense, not knowing how to approach the situation, thinking I think that he just kind of respond out of frustration, without any methodical approach to carrying out this contract that Black America did not agree upon. So, I mean, I'm just saying. So, you're speaking on behalf of the community, but you didn't really get any buy-in from us. So, I mean, I find everything wrong with this contract. I think that his approach just to me is just way off. And
Right.
it's such a contradiction to everything he's ever rapped about, ever stood for. So for me, I'm just really lost with this whole contract that kind of came out of nowhere.
Have you read the contract to Black America yet?
I did. And it seems to me it's just very, very broad and vague.
Okay.
Yes,
I
very
haven't
broad.
I haven't read it
Hey,
yet, but I'll
hey,
probably try
that
to
thing
peruse
long.
it on this. Okay, so Brandon, what did you think of the comments meeting up with Donald Trump, Katrina Pearson
I
tweeting and all that?
the thing is, if we have to understand the historical sense of all this. Most important part is that he met with Jared Kushner, the soulless man of Jared Kushner, as much personality as a wet pepper brag, right? And when he met with this guy, it was supposed to be, I guess, an all call for anyone who wants to talk about this black contract. The biggest issue I do have is the comments that he was making prior to this, telling people not to go vote, black
Right.
people not to go vote. And the problem with that is that in 2016, Russian bots did that. Okay, they made up fake African American accounts, right? And they became a part of the community over time because they were working this out for years. So they were share, like, Black Lives Matter stuff. They would do all these things. Then when it got close to election 2016, they would create memes and stuff like that telling people not to vote. And that is the reason why we're where we're at today. So
Mhm.
it does a great disservice to tell African Americans not to vote when we had groups like the Red Shirt, the White League, KKK, and rifle groups literally killing us and trying to prevent us from voting because they understand not the only tool, but the very first tool of power is voting. So that was my biggest concern. Now the contract stuff, we could talk about that whenever you're ready. That thing is broad. Like Lynn says, it's 13 points, and some of it overlaps itself. And the craziest thing is, if he did some research, I don't know if he did or not, a lot of that stuff is already addressed in Biden's platform for Black America that he's had out for months.
Yes.
Right.
Which was a response to his and Diddy's public outcry about, about Black people and how we need to, mobilize and vote. So I thought that's the part that's the irony in all of this. So it was a response to your outcry.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So now for me, I don't feel that much differently than you guys. I'm gonna because I know Brandon isn't much for the bad words, so I'm gonna do my best not to use them. But
do your best, but if you got a few, I'll cover my ears and pray about him.
Okay, cool. But I don't know what's wrong with these rappers. I really don't. It's not. It's the community as a whole, and it's not every rapper in the community, but there's certain ones that stayed. I don't want to say stayed asleep, but just now decided that they wanted to get woke this year. And I just find it problematic the battles that they're picking and choosing. Ice Cube, I've gotten a lot of feedback from my timeline saying, well, I think Ice Cube means well, and I think he's, trying to look out for Black people. And I am not comfortable saying that just yet. I'm not gonna say he's a sellout or problematic to Black people. I'm not ready to say that, but I just don't know. Ice Cube is a rich guy. Like we know this. Telling people not to vote is problematic on so many levels. Telling Black people, nobody's looking out for you, I think that's problematic as well, because it creates this sense of neediness, not neediness, but like this sense of politicians are supposed to do things for us, which they are, but it's a kind of a reciprocal relationship. We have to kind of take our own initiatives, you know what I'm saying? We kind of have to lead politicians into doing stuff for us. That's how it's always been with the Black community. Yeah.
If I could say, I think that's really important to realize that a play of words, it is a social contract. That's just basic, politics. We know there's a social contract. We lend our power to these people. The problem is that we don't consistently vote, and we don't consistently hold their feet to the fire. Those are two important things. And lastly, Malcolm X talks about, in every other community, the celebrity is not the leader, but in the Black community, where he talked about the comedians, the singers, things of that nature, right? And the problem is, we think because Ice Cube or 50 Cent is rich, they have all the answers. No, they got put on. All right. That's something totally different. They're talented in whatever they do, but that does not mean they're policymakers. That does not mean they understand the people that they came from, because Ice Cube's been out of the hood a long time. That's something we have to
say that. Longer than he's been poor. He's been rich longer than he's been poor. That's what I have an issue with. And it's a social contract. I'm sorry. We're talking about public policy. We're talking about social justice. That's not a contract.
Yeah,
I have he's handling it from a business angle, and I have a problem with that.
I have a big problem with that too, because we've all been in the private sector. We've all been in the public sector. I think right now, Brandon and me, we both work in the public sector. The public sector does not work like the private sector.
Not
Is
at all,
that's just
sir.
a fact. It's not public. That we are not a business in the traditional sense of the word. We
No.
have to make sure we are sensitive to the diverse needs of diverse communities.
Yes.
Approaching this like a business is just wrong on so many fronts, and I do blame Donald Trump for a lot of this and the people
Mhm.
that supported him. I will say this about Donald Trump, about Ice Cube too, is I do not like his response to the legitimate criticism that he's been getting. I'm not talking about the people that are calling him a coon and a sellout and house niggas with attitudes and stuff like that. I'm not.
I haven't heard that one yet.
Me neither.
Yeah,
That's new.
yeah.
That was
I,
new.
That was cold. I
I,
like that.
yeah, that was Van Lathan that said that. Posted.
Uh,
He did retract. He did erase it. But I'm not with that. I'm not trying to do that with Ice Cube. But I do think this is one thing that I think all three of us understand about politics. The minute you enter the arena, and when I say the
fair
arena,
game.
I am talking about Game of Thrones. We are
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
when you enter this arena, you have to enter it understanding
You
that
gotta get worked.
people are going to hate you. There are going to
Yep.
be people that love you, and there are going to be people that hate you, and there are
Right.
going to be people in between that have legitimate criticism and ask you about your plan. Does your plan include women? Does your plan include the LGBTQ
Right.
community?
Wow.
Does your plan
Mm-mm.
include this group, that group, other things? And you've got to be prepared to answer those questions. You can't just be getting mad and angry and then name calling and saying like these defensive tweets I've been seeing from this dude where he's like, you guys criticize me, but you don't criticize. You're the one that entered the arena. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
At this particular moment, that's why you are getting criticized. If you cannot handle that, you do not belong in politics. You're used to
If
everybody loving you, you know?
if
But
I could
he
say
was
this,
used. Mhm.
if I could say this real quick, I think it's really important to key into the business side of things that you were talking about, sir. Um, the funny thing is with him, his business, his 3-on-3 company started with Jeff Kisnak or Jeff K, however you want to say his name, right?
Right.
That's his best buddy is Steve Bannon. And Steve Bannon worked for who? And he's a white supremacist.
Yeah.
So we have to understand that for many people, even if that's not the case, that if he not willingly being used or what have you, the optics is very poor at this point, at this juncture.
Yes.
It's kind of
Right.
scary to think about this guy started a company with another gentleman that's really close buddies with a white supremacist. Okay, that's that's problematic for me. Okay, that
Mhm.
lets me know what's most important to you. All right, is it money or values? Then he got on CNN and said the biggest thing that we have to have money to have dignity and respect and all these things. No, that's not the case. He's saying that because he's rich. What we need is social programs. What we need is opportunities. What
Right.
we need is real change. So you can't tell us that if we get some money, everything's going to change. Black Wall Street, you tell me what happened there. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? What
exactly.
happened to Harlem Renaissance?
Right.
What happened to Mon Value? All these places that we could
Right.
think of, and all these black businesses that are owned. What happened? These people, these white Americans
Yeah.
got mad and took it away or did something. So we need something much more than just the money. Of course, we need wealth. That's important, but we need
Right.
something. What's the greatest equalizer of them all? Education.
Yep.
Yeah, you bring up some valid points, and this is a problem that I have with the community as a whole. Is we're just so money and business oriented to the point that it's almost detrimental. But I do believe that capital is important. Money
Right.
is
Very.
always a good thing to have. I remember being broke. I remember not being broke because I'm not
Oh God.
broke right now. You know what I'm saying? But when I was broke, I'm not far removed from those days. Now,
Right.
Man.
with that said, these the political infrastructure has to be thought about when we're talking about black empowerment. You
Mhm.
cannot leave that part out. And
No.
when I hear this both sidesisms from people like Ice Cube, from people like 50 Cent is I think that dude is just trolling, so I'm not even paying him
That
attention.
that's
But
exactly what he's doing. He's
yeah,
trolling.
Waste
but
of time.
yeah. So, but like from Ice Cube, it's like if you do not have the correct proper political infrastructure set up,
Mhm.
then things like Tulsa, Oklahoma happen. Like Brandon said, the fall of Black Wall Street. These
Right.
white people have gone to whole communities like
Yeah.
Rosewood and
Yeah.
have destroyed them, and
Yes.
we had money. So
Yeah.
what does that tell you? That tells you that there was no political infrastructure set up for these
And
cities, these communities to
He
thrive.
can I say
Booker T.
this real quick?
Washington.
I was gonna, yeah, I was gonna, yeah, I know Booker T, right? So listen,
Right.
the crazy thing is Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, the two people that we hold in high esteem, they both died broke, okay?
Right.
But their impact and their dignity and the respect and the power that they held is unmatched, right?
Right.
So I mean, you definitely don't get me wrong. You need money to get these ideas off the ground, off teak. But you can't expect to say once you get money, it's all going to be okay.
But
That's just
Right.
that's that Booker T. Washington
yeah,
to me stance. And to me it's like, okay, so you basically tell us to give up our rights in exchange
yeah,
for economics, and I don't agree
great
with that.
point.
That's why I have a big issue
Yeah.
with this being a social I mean a contract for Black America. No, you cannot
Yeah.
get what you want in one transaction. That's
Nope,
business.
Yeah.
This
I hate.
like
that's
I
good.
even with the what Martin Luther King, it's like we're talking about a 10-year period that
Yeah,
for the civil rights movement, and 3 bills were passed in those 3 years. And what was he doing? Meeting with the president. He was
yeah,
organizing, he was boycotting, they were still doing all of this stuff. Yet it took 10 years, and you think you're going to get what you want in one transaction? To me, that's where I
yeah.
have a problem.
Yeah. And
that's
I'm
a good
reading
point.
this contract right now. I hate, like you just mentioned, Lashonda. You didn't say this, but I do hate that name, the contract with Black America, because it's just fuck, man. This isn't Wall Street. You know what I'm saying? We're not like Brandon said. We are not a business. We don't need a contract. We need you guys to do right by us. This thing is 13 points. I'm reading. It's
Yeah,
long.
and they get broken.
Um,
Contracts get broken all the time, man.
yeah,
All the
yeah.
time. We need
Yeah,
something fully sustainable. And to me,
right,
that's public policy. That is not a
right.
contract. And
Yeah,
then
you, yeah,
I have an issue also with again, if we're talking about social change, we're talking about change within the Black community. It has to be sustainable. To me, the only way to do that is through public policy, not through a
right,
contract. And if you're interested in really working with someone and really pushing this agenda, then I feel like he should have waited until after the election. That way you have a greater vantage point at who's going to be the president, what does your Congress look like, your legislative body, so that you know how to really lobby this thing. To me, it's you just disrupt everything, and to me it's reckless, and it's
Yeah,
also it's very reckless to do that right now. I'm not mad at the
right,
Democrats for telling him to wait. I would have told him to wait. I mean, they're campaigning. This is a critical election, and you come with this agenda where, like people said on Roland Martin, where
where
the
you
hell
from?
were you at
Yeah, where
in
you
the
come
yeah.
from?
primary?
I did see that on Roland
So
Martin. I saw him on Roland Martin. He was not good on Roland Martin. That's
he
just
wasn't good on
the bottom.
CNN. He's
No.
not
No,
doing
it
a good
was
job
Cuomo. Yeah,
explaining his points.
right.
And
Yeah,
if I could say this, I think it's important that he has some ideas that are like taken from all over, that were
Hmm.
public
right.
policy ideas, but it's not well laid out, and it's no,
Mhm.
like, how can I say, point where it can become actual policy. It's more of on the
Right.
ideal phase right now, and that's scary.
Exactly.
And he had a chance to meet with Biden. He had the chance to do that. I think his whole thing was take my whole ball, I'm going home attitude.
Yes.
Yeah,
Or since he already had an in with Trump, he's like, I'm gonna go with Trump. Either
Hmm.
way it goes, why would you meet with someone who already said Black Lives Matter is a hate group? Who
Right.
said
right. Yeah,
systemic racism? Who
But
tried to crucify young boys?
you have a song called "Fuck the Police," and then you have law enforcement all around this country pouring into his campaign. I don't understand. I don't get
right.
it. I don't understand. So my thing is, to me, he's a total contradiction to everything he's ever rapped about and stood for. So to me, yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it, but it looks like, yeah, bro, you a sellout.
I'm just, and she
Yeah.
got. At first, she said she was gonna reserve her judgment. Now she got to that. She started thinking about it. She's like, I don't
Yeah.
know, man, bro. Mike, I don't know. But
Yeah.
I think that the problem is the problem we have to understand that he's when you're unlearned in public, because I have a degree in political science and a bachelor's in public policy or public administration.
Mhm.
So
Same
when you
here.
look
Yeah.
at those two, you understand how government works. But
Right.
that takes, I mean, us talking is like it's a regular conversation because this is what we do and what we've done for so long. And
Right.
people don't understand that it's much more than just ideas. It's
Mhm.
history behind it. It's
Right.
understanding
Yeah.
how things work and who to talk to. You
System.
don't you don't talk to you don't talk to someone who's for the last 4 years been the president and hasn't done anything. That
Mhm.
tells you
Right.
all you need to know and what he wants to do. And you don't talk to someone who calls black women monsters and nasty, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you don't do that. These black reporters that are women, and to the woman who's running for vice president that you didn't want to meet with, you don't
Right.
do. Just that's
Yeah.
how.
And that was my problem too with Ice Cube and with Killer Mike also. With meeting with these elected officials that have proven to be racist, proven to be nationalists, proven to not like black people, proven to disrespect black women, all these things, you meet up with them. And the way I operate in the world of politics, I only deal with good faith actors. A good faith actor doesn't have to agree with me 100% of the time, but we can talk to
Yeah.
get to a point where we're of compromise. We're okay. It's
Right.
like that's why I work with the Lincoln Project right now, because I don't agree with those cats on everything they say, but
And that's
I
fine.
don't. They're the disagree. We're disagreeing on should Biden pack the courts. We're not disagreeing on wearing
Right.
masks. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? We're not disagreeing on, like obvious stuff, and that's kind of like my issue with Cube meeting with these people, with Killer Mike meeting with that racist mayor who stole the election from Keisha Lance Bottoms, who undermined or not stole the election from Stacey Abrams, who undermined Keisha Lance Bottoms after she put her city on lockdown.
Talking about the
And
governor,
Yeah.
the governor, that's who it is. Sorry.
former Secretary of
Animated.
State. Yeah, former
Yeah.
Secretary of State.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like, but why are you meeting with these people?
Right.
And if you are meeting with these people, why don't you bring Keisha Lance Bottoms with you and be like, look, man, okay, you disrespected my homegirl. She needs to be in this meeting also, since she is the elected fucking official. You get me? Excuse me. Sorry about
If I could say this, I
that.
think it's important to realize, like, do these guys ask themselves, why do they want to meet with me, right? What are
Yes.
you bringing to the table that's so special? What you're bringing to the table is a following, and I think
Right.
I think they're not. I don't know if they realize that or not, or if they care to realize that, and that's really important. That there's a motive,
Yeah.
right? It goes back to Malcolm X's "The Bull in the Battle." He talks about they come around every 4 years and yada yada yada. Look where he's
Right.
coming. He's not. He's coming around literally a month to 2 months out from the election, and now he wants to talk to you. That don't even seem right. Why
But
is he?
Right.
that no, say that, because that's what I have a problem with, because now that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm questioning the
Yeah.
motive. I'm like, it's so convenient for Trump to take a meeting with Ice Cube right before the election, because to me
Right.
it makes me wonder what kind of back office deal did you do with him, because I don't think that it was just, oh, I want to talk about this, because what did you really walk away with? You didn't walk
Right.
away with anything, but they walked
Yeah.
away with at least saying, "Hey, we met with you,"
Yeah.
and created this narrative around this meeting. But what did you
Right.
walk away with? You
They
didn't get
but they
anything.
You
they
saw the
built
platinum plan,
clout
right?
off of your.
Did you see the
I
platinum plan? It's
Yeah, it
it's
looked like. Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't see the similarities to the strong enough similarities to the platinum plan. I hate the name, by the way. Like it's a credit card. We're
Stupid.
doing
Yeah.
everything on credit, or it's the
Business.
'90s, or it's the
Yeah.
'90s, and we want platinum all
Yeah.
the time, like it's a rapper. But
Hmm.
understand that the closest similarity to his plan is the Biden plan.
Hmm.
Right. It's funny because all these people in the hip hop community got all butthurt at Biden's plan being named the Lift Every Voice plan. At least I'm not a fan of these stupid names anyway, but at least with the Lift Every Voice plan, it doesn't sound like some kind of business transaction or like business contract or anything like that. It sounds like, okay, we need to uplift Black people. And I
Right.
don't get that just by the names of these stupid plans, the Platinum Plan, the contract with Black America. I don't get that. I don't get the feeling of upliftment from those things. I really don't. This isn't me being a hater or anything. It's just me calling it like I see it. These plans do not speak to someone like myself. And here's another thing that I know too. And this is what one of the things that offends me the most about Ice Cube, and him just kind of barging into our space. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Mhm.
okay, I know I've known you guys for years, like over a decade now.
Right.
I know that Lashonda does the work. Lynn, I know she does the work. I know Brandon does the work. He's been working with his church for years. He's been doing his stuff. I've been, I'm a volunteer with Black Lives Matter. I'm a member of the NAACP. I'm always trying to see what I can do to move policy. That is what we do. So for this dude to just come in and be like, oh, y'all ain't doing enough. You know what I'm saying? And to just kind of think you're just gonna bogart the movement
Mhm.
to whet your angry appetite. You know what I'm saying? This is not the music industry. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of my problem with Ice Cube, um, in the way he's kind of going about things. I think it's very disrespectful to the people that already been doing the work, to the people that organized the women's march, the people that work for the Poor People's Campaign, all those different levels of people. That is just so disrespectful. And I mean, and if let's say Angela Rye or somebody like that decided that she was just gonna get into hip hop and
Right.
make a rap album and just tell everybody and rap at the moment, look, all you guys suck. Let A Rye bust a few bars,
Right.
and do this
Yeah.
rapid right. That's what it seems like to me.
And
But you
I
know what?
don't.
There's a lot of Ice Cubes, and I feel like in our community who are not fully informed, and so they kind of have this frustration and have these outbursts and just have these assumptions that nothing is going on because they're not
They're
privy
not
to what's
learning.
going on, right? So they don't know what's going on. So when you don't know, you automatically assume. I've had clients reach out to me wanting me to do business plans because there's the assumption is that, oh, well, there's nothing being done in the hood or nothing is happening, and I'm like, well, do you know, or is this just how you feel?
Right? Yeah.
Have you did the research? I think the craziest thing is that it's very difficult because we live in a social media age where everyone can find things on YouTube and they think that automatically means research.
Right.
And I think it's
Yeah.
really scary. And I hold my tongue a lot on Facebook and on things like that because I don't. It's hard for me. I don't want to go back and forth with someone who doesn't have a certain base knowledge, if that makes sense. Because
Yes.
we're going to be going in circles. I may say things that you're not going to be able to connect with, and it's going to be a waste of time at the end of the day. And
Mm-hmm.
on the Ice Cube side of things, I think the biggest thing is a lot of people come with ideas, but it's really important for you to try to be a part of the community in terms of that public policy community. Figure out who's doing the work out there and figure
Right.
out what they're doing and seeing if you can add to the work because and uplift their work because they've been putting in the work for so many years, and you're trying to, and that's still a spot. Maybe he's not trying. Maybe he's not doing that, but that's how the way it's coming off. And
Right.
who helped you with these ideas? That's my biggest thing. Like who helped you with this platform?
He
Because
said
it would give
educated
credence.
people, some
Like
educated
who?
people.
Who?
He didn't
Because that
name any.
because my
He
thing is,
didn't.
Yeah.
I need to know names because that gives credence to what's being brought out. So if you
Exactly.
have a list of people who have these degrees, the work in these areas, then I'm like, oh hell, this all right. Okay, my bad, Q, right? But that's not the
Right.
case at all. Only name I saw on there was Cory Booker, and he only used Cory Booker name because he took one of Cory Booker's ideas. So
Right.
I don't that that's a I think that's a problem, and that's the problem with. I don't want to get into a big conversation about the African American community and stuff like that, but that's part of the issues that we sometimes we don't know how to connect with one another and to
Yeah,
help
we
each
don't.
other to that
Yeah.
same goal that we need. Sometimes we want all the credit, if that makes sense, and it's really
Yeah.
Yeah,
important for us to work
But
together.
he did that about the reparations in California. I'm like, no, there was no agreement for reparations in California. There's an agreement for a task force.
yeah,
Study.
exactly.
Right.
Like,
So you're speaking about reparations and kind of getting people excited, but I'm like, that's not the truth. If you actually read and do your research, then you know that it's a task force.
Oh, it
right,
is.
yeah, and it's just thing after thing after thing like that. That's kind of getting me upset with this. So what I want, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is the a lot of the ADOS stuff that he's been spewing all weekend about the ADOS is this, what is it, African descendants of,
Of slaves.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I've always had a problem when people um do that kind of thing with black people, when we start removing black people from the conversation, when we start get into this area of, hey, I'm a descendant of a slave, you your parents are from Ghana, so you are not part of this conversation, and
Right.
just doing things like that. I think that's very, very, very problematic for our community, because um we need as many people on our side as possible. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I don't know how things are within the Hispanic community, the Latinx community, but
Latinx, yeah.
I don't think it's as problematic as some of the stuff that I just see us do on a day-to-day basis. Like they like we there are a lot of people in that space that, they get real mad, even if you mention like black and Latinx people together, they get mad at that. And we are getting pounced on by a minority of people that yield a lot of power, and we could have more power, but we choose to play this separatist game with everybody, and it's bad enough when we do it with Latinx people, but I think it's real problematic when we start doing that with other black people.
Mhm.
I think
And I Go ahead, Brandon.
I was gonna say I think that's just a historical thing in terms of the idea of stolen jobs, if that makes sense. That
Mm.
Yeah,
that we have to always fight for crumbs since there's not a lot of bread out there. So we create those. It's part of minority groups. There's 5 characteristics, and one of the characteristics is that idea of high in group like identity, right? So
Mhm.
you
right,
make that community like that, then we all do it to one another. The Latinx, sometimes they do it to African Americans. There's Africans that do it to African Americans as well. So we have to understand it. We're an African diaspora. Even Mexico,
Yes.
it's more slaves went to Mexico than to North America. So once we understand the history and understand that we're more alike than we are different, then
Right.
that wouldn't be the issue. But Europeans brought in our idea, the hierarchy, and that hierarchy is based off of skin complexion. Then they
Mhm.
bring in the African sides, that you see an African and say, okay, they may have better opportunities in America than a black American because of XYZ. Then you also have black Americans who are afraid to call themselves African Americans, and they like to say now that we're actually Native Americans, really. And they don't understand the idea that no, you're not Native Americans. Native Americans own slaves, and that's
Right.
why when they left out, they had to recertify who their race, because they were owned by Native Americans, and they weren't even Americans. Right? That's Oklahoma right
right,
there. But that's history that people don't know, and they take some book they read or some YouTube, and they
Mhm.
create this whole new narrative, and they get afraid to connect themselves to the back to the motherland, to
Right.
Africa. That's where everyone comes from. So if we
Right.
have that type of mindset, then we can connect, because at the end of the day, it's the same playbook that they used on us, that they use on Mexican Americans, that they use on Chinese Americans. It's the same playbook to
Mhm.
separate, put them in camps, take their land, kill, still the same thing. The only difference is, since we're Africans, the biggest thing that we've had is that slavery, that it was placed upon us for hundreds of years and still going on now.
Right.
So, and I think we played that Olympics of oppression, the oppression Olympics. Like, well, I got it worse than you. No, it's
Right.
time out for that. It's time. The time is for us to work together, because at the end of the day, even the Black Panthers had wealthy white people working with them. They had hippies working with them. They had the Brown Berets working with them, and they got stuff done because that's why the FBI got afraid. They didn't kill Fred Hampton because he was young, black, and cool. They killed him because he had hippies, that he had hillbillies, he had Italians, he had Puerto Ricans all on the side in Chicago, and he was about to get that thing busy with a bunch of different people. That's where the real power.
And I think that is becoming lost on a lot of these people that are just now entering the movement that talk this stuff. You know, it's because they don't know, or they have this history that they read, they get from a pamphlet or YouTube or whatever, and they anchor themselves to that bias, and you can't talk them out of any other thing. And I think that when you get into the political space, and this is something that all of us understand because we're students of history, we're students of politics, change doesn't happen all at once. It's incremental. And I think you have, if you are entering into activism, into politics, all that stuff, you have to resign yourself to the idea that the change that you are fighting for, you might not be around to see it when it comes into full fruition. Is your battle selfish, that you need things right now? Are you not thinking about your children? Are you not thinking about your grandchildren? All that different stuff. These are questions that you need to be asking yourself when you decide to step into this place. That doesn't mean you don't fight for getting things done expeditiously, but it means you understand that these fights are tiresome, they're annoying, they could be grating to your soul, but if you think it's worth it, you take them on, you know. And I remember at the beginning of the election cycle, I do have to bring this up. Lynn, you weren't the most excited person about Joe Biden.
No.
And I knew you would always.
Let's go, Joe.
I'm still rolling with the party and not the person.
Let's go, Joe.
That's the thing. I knew. I never had any doubt that you would get to the point of acceptance of, like, you know what, this isn't my guy, but of the options that we have at the moment, we got to figure out a way to make this work. The canvas.
But that's just it. It's a binary option. Like it's a binary choice. Like we don't really have a choice here. It's like it's either we're gonna keep rolling with what we have, which is a complete disaster, or we're gonna go, with Biden. And I'm like, okay, come on. That's simple math. I'm going with.
Well, the thing with that too is, to me, right now, this part shouldn't be as grating and soul snatching as it has been, but it's been very soul snatching for me. And this is what I'm having a hard time getting people to understand. Just because Joe Biden wins, it doesn't mean we're out the woods. It means that's when the real work starts. We have to get Joe Biden to a place to where he understands that status quo is no longer working for a lot of Americans.
But see, then that's the Ice Cube conversation. That's the conversation Ice Cube be having with whoever wins this election, opposed to now. Because but you're absolutely right. Because I feel like it's too premature, in my opinion, to even have that conversation at this moment. Let things happen. Right. It's too late. It's not even the idea of it being too late. I'm like, just let the election occur. Like, let's find out who's going to be the president and then deal with it. it then? Because what if Trump doesn't win and you didn't sat down with this man and started making these plans and he doesn't win? First of all, you lobby the person and not the party. So you don't even have real support from the Republican Party, and you keep saying, oh, it's a bipartisan issue, but you're not talking bipartisan.
Yeah,
People, there's a lot of Republicans don't even like Trump. He's not the prototype Republican.
He's not a
what we have to
Republican.
understand. We have to understand this right now in this current version of America, it's not bipartisan. Nobody wants to. People in that community don't want to talk about it. Ain't bipartisan. We care about Black issues in the Democratic Party at the moment. They do not care. They have to care about the issue. The Black people that Donald Trump likes talking to are Black people that are going to tell him what he wants to hear when he wants to hear it.
Because they're trying to get checked, man.
Yeah, Donald Trump says he's the greatest president for Black Americans. He believes that because he has people in his orbit. He has Black people in his orbit who
but it's
tell
not
him
just
this 24 hours a day.
It's not just that. It's not just that. It's not about that. It's also the policies that he has passed. The First Step Act. That's one policy. But I'm like, but the motives behind your policy is what I have an issue with. It's not because you care about Black people. No, right. It's like the First Step Act. That's really all you did was to get the Black male vote. Okay, so you did that. And trust me, I'm talking to people in the community, and it's a lot of Black men who are wanting to support Trump or vote for him. So it's working. And I'm like, he's a marketing genius. But then it's opportunity zone. Okay, so then that speaks to gentrification. You are not helping us. So all of these policies that he has created, and he's spewing out this narrative that, oh, I'm helping Black America, but you're really not.
Could I ask you guys a question real quick?
Go ahead.
Do you think, and especially, it's a two-pronged question. Do you think some of the support that he received by African Americans, males exactly, was because of they sexist attitudes towards Hillary Clinton? One, and two, because of the idea of building the wall because they are anti-Latinx or Hispanic and they have an issue with those two groups. What do you guys think? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yes.
I think so too.
That's the problem, that we for some reason think that these people they're not even Mexican, most of them coming from South America, from the Northern Triangle. I have a podcast episode on that, guys, just to let you know. Anyways, coming over, they for some reason we think they're literally taking our jobs, and we've been accustomed to think that. But in reality is they're not taking our jobs, right? Because our jobs, there's no jobs in our community already. So that means we need to actually create more jobs. We need more opportunities. We need more chances. So who's going to do that for you? Is Trump going to do that? Does he have the capacity to do that? Or do you think Biden has the capacity to do that because he has someone like Kamala Harris that's by his side that's not going to let up on him? You already know she's going to take him on. She has no problem with that.
Well, a man that's trying to build a damn wall and putting kids in detention centers definitely ain't trying to do that.
I know, that's the thing. And you can say what you want about Joe Biden. Joe Biden does have smart Black people working
around him.
A lot of Black women.
His campaign managers are Black women. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing, though. Here's another problem with some Black males. Some of them may have a problem with that as well. That they have a problem with seeing strong, powerful Black women in these positions of power. And I think that's a concern, and that's an issue. Not a lot, because he's only last time he's polling at about 7-8% African American vote, but that still should be the case. Then you have people who really believe that Joe Biden's a pedophile or some reason or something like that. I'm like, you guys do understand when I say him, Trump, one of his closest friends, killed himself in the midst of going to trial based off of what? A pedophile ring. So it's like.
But not only that, this is a man talking about grabbing pussies. Like, I mean, what?
It's very. And the problem that I have with the men at the moment, not all the Black men, because like you just pointed out, Brandon, most of us are not going to be voting for Trump, but there's enough of us that are going to be voting for Trump that is problematic. Um, and I think with black men have been deceived into this idea that politics has to be transactional, like in a business sense of the word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then in the past, the way politics has been transactional for our community is we go to Lyndon B. Johnson. We say, hey, this is what black people need. These are who we register to vote. If you do the stuff, if these people vote for you, this is what we expect out of you. And then Lyndon B. Johnson, who was already kind of racist, but he understood where his bread was buttered.
Right.
I mean, I'd say the only reason why I use the word kinda is because he did do a lot of good stuff when he was in office.
Yeah,
you
he
know,
did.
so-
Yeah,
He did a
I think-
lot.
I think it's important to realize that it's him being racist or being akin to racism didn't stop him to get things done. Meaning he was willing to move if it made sense. And overall, he had a heart for people. And that's why I tell people I liken Joe Biden to LBJ.
Yeah, same here. I think.
Not saying he's a racist, not saying that, okay? Saying he's willing to move because he has some problematic history, the 94, Anita Hill, things of that nature. But he's willing to move. He apologized to Anita Hill, and she's willing to vote for him the whole nine. He said the 94 Act was wrong. And we're okay, and we forgive the CBC, Congressional Black Caucus, but we won't forgive Joe Biden and see if he can change.
Yeah, that like so many black mayors were for that
all of them
crime bill. So many black clergy people were for
Jesse
that crime
Jackson.
bill. You know, and we got to put these things in perspective. You know what I'm saying? And Joe Biden kind of all of them should be held accountable for that crime bill because it was wrong, it was problematic, everything.
If you were in his place, I think we all would do the same. Let me tell you why we all do the same. Okay.
Yeah.
At that time, it's all about being tough on crime and looking more conservative win because you got Republicans winning election after election after election. Hell, we got to get a dub. All right, so that's our dub. Then you got the black vote saying we with it. Oh damn, I'm gonna get middle of the road votes and black votes. Oh, this is cool. This is perfect. Where do I sign up at? That's what happened, and that's problematic because it started with our community saying we want that. We need to put these people in jail. We need to do something instead of asking for more resources to deal with people who are addicted to drugs or to deal with people who are committing these crimes. I think that's an us problem partially too. It's a big us problem.
Yeah, it is, and that's kind of like why I understand people's issue with the crime bill, but you have to but you can't just be believing nonsense you read online. Because it's been posted in the meme or a headline without reading the article and things of that nature, and we do a lot of that in our community. I'm hoping that we get out of that space, and we've got to stop in the black community the political apathy. In my opinion, that has to stop. The voter apathy, it cannot continue if we are to thrive the way we should be thriving.
But it's like Shirley Chisholm said, our community, we don't believe in political salvation. So it's like, that's a problem. I mean, I was on a live about 2 weeks ago or following the debate, and I couldn't believe how ill-informed people were and saying that the president is appointed and not elected. And it was just like all of this ignorance and saying, oh, well, black people are not really citizens. I'm like, well, what do you call the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment? Like what we're so I'm like, no, we are citizens, and I'm like, of course there's been, like even with the whole voting narrative in the black community, it blows my mind. Oh, we didn't have the right to vote. No, black men in this country had the right to vote since 1870 and black women 1920. Well, you're talking about voter suppression is what you're talking about for 100 years. That's that 100-year block. That's what that was. And really, we haven't seen a true democracy, or we didn't see a true democracy until 1970, really, in this country, if we're going to be honest about it. But I mean, really, it's about ignorance. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, but in the literal sense, we just don't know. And I'm like, hell, if reparations was dependent upon us knowing history, we wouldn't We wouldn't get it because we don't know it.
I have a
Yeah,
podcast on voter suppression too, by the way.
I saw that. I'm gonna listen to that.
yeah,
I
I
think
think
you
that's
made a brilliant point though. I think it's really important for us to realize like we need to really read. Okay,
Yes.
that's just key factors and understand that the idea of when they say voting doesn't count, things of that nature. If it didn't count, you wouldn't have Mississippi, Florida, Alabama convening to try to create some type of way to circumvent the 15th Amendment. You wouldn't have voter ID laws. You wouldn't have them closing down DMVs. You wouldn't have them.
Disenfranchise laws, all of that.
right.
You wouldn't have
Like
any of
it,
those things. And I
But
think
but
right,
it's
right. We might.
I ask people all the time when people tell me that my go-to question is I try to make it as simple as possible for them. I say, people don't take something from you unless it has value.
Right.
What's going to
Yeah.
keep you away from the polls for 100 years? When you go to jail, what are two things they take from you immediately? Your freedom and your right to vote.
yep.
If
Right.
it has no value, why did they work so hard to keep you from these polls for 100 years? After
Right.
Reconstruction, from Reconstruction, post-Reconstruction until 1965, they kept you away from the polls that long, and you think it doesn't have any value? But so then
Yeah.
why are you courting? Why is Trump or Biden? Why are you courting the Black community for the vote if it doesn't have any power?
Yeah.
I
And
don't
did you
know.
guys see what happened in Pennsylvania today
Yep.
with this
The Supreme
with
Court.
the vote, the Supreme
Yep.
Court decision? Yeah. It was a 4-4 split decision because right now we're missing a justice on the Supreme Court. So
Right.
when it's a tie in the Supreme Court, the it goes back to the lower court decision. So that's the deciding vote. So those votes in Pennsylvania, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, there was this issue with when votes will be counted, mail-in votes will be counted. Yeah, those votes are going to get counted even after the
3 days.
election day. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully, hopefully everything is called on election night
We don't need a
in favor of.
2000.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
we really don't need
we
that.
don't.
But
But I
but
don't see it happen like that though. Even if it did, the recount would hurt somebody like Trump in the first place if he was be fighting for a recount. And I don't like if people literally really go out and vote. And I was very problematic. It's problematic if they don't, of course. But I was thinking in terms of voting for Biden. I think people are going to really come out in terms of the middle class,
right,
the white suburbans, the northern belt. People are going to come up for the Rust Belt. So he's taking back Michigan. That was a big key, and I think he's going to get Florida after changing the registration laws there. And
Yeah,
those two, and I think Ohio, those three
yeah.
right there, that's going to seal the deal.
I mean,
right, and
Ohio's close though. Isn't Ohio
It
close?
is.
I know
It is.
Florida, he's leading in Florida, even
Yeah.
Ohio.
Arizona.
Ohio is within the margin of error, and I think that
Yeah.
Florida is within
Florida
the
is.
margin of error,
Yeah.
Yeah.
too. So
I think the black vote's going to
yeah,
take him over in Florida. I think the black vote
Yeah.
will.
I think so
yeah,
too. They were talking about
yeah,
Texas tipping in this
Yeah.
election, but what do you guys think? Because it's
I could
close.
see it. I could really see it. I could see
yeah,
that, and I can see us picking up 1 or 2 seats in Georgia, both of those Senate seats
right,
too. And that could tip also. Georgia could end up being in play. These places are being in play because
Yeah.
people are leaving California and moving where? Atlanta and Dallas and
Texas.
Houston.
Yes.
Yeah. So we got more than enough people to go ahead and let y'all have a couple million. So
But
I
even
mean,
the Latino population is huge in
true.
Texas, and
Very true.
that definitely has a influence, as well as Atlanta, well, Georgia.
So
So
I'm
we see.
thinking that I think that I understand why a lot of black folks, and not just black folks, but why a lot of Dems and progressives in general are very walking on eggshells going into November 3rd. I don't. That's not my attitude. I am cautiously optimistic, but I do expect a W on November the 3rd. And I do think that I
I think
don't
we
think
got
we
it.
should be going to the polls nervous. I don't think that that's the answer. I don't think I think we need to be bold in 2020, but I understand the PTSD everybody has from 2016. Um, and
I
we
knew he
just,
was gonna I knew he was gonna win though. So I
yeah,
wasn't I that's why
like,
I wasn't
yeah, I follow
I knew.
my favorite
I
political
didn't. I didn't
forecast.
know. I didn't know. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie. I
well,
didn't know.
my favorite political forecasters are Alan Lichtman and Rachel Bitecofer, and both of them, especially Alan Lichtman, said that Trump was going to win, and I was holding out that this would be the time that Alan Lichtman was wrong. He's never wrong, but I was
Never
hoping that
wrong.
would be the time in 2016. So I was just nervous going into 2016, and then what happened happened. So 2020, I feel a little bit better about, but I do. But my main concern, and we can start we can start wrapping up. But I do want to talk about the importance of us doing work after the election, because Roland Martin says this all the time. After the day of the inauguration of Barack Obama, black people took their foot off the gas pedal, and I
They didn't come out and
100%
vote.
believe
Yeah,
that. Yeah, they didn't vote in 2010. In both houses flipped outside of the executive branch, and a lot of things got reversed on us. We cannot have that happen again. We
Nope.
have to make
Stay
sure that
engaged.
we are always engaged. So one of the ways we do that is through our podcast, through your blog, Lynn, through all these different ways. But like how do we make sure that we don't get comfortable, like comfortable to the point where we stop paying attention? It's all right to be comfortable, but you got to pay attention. You could be comfortable, but you got to be paying attention. You can't we
right.
can't we can't be having those moments anymore, so what do we do to fix
I think political education is the key.
I was
that?
just
Yeah,
thinking.
Um, I think really that we have to continue to inform people and keep people engaged.
Right.
Um, and that goes with every group from the NAACP to BLM to the PI. Whatever you're doing, you have to keep people engaged and meet them where they are and let them have that energy that they had in '08. You need to keep that energy every time you go to the voting polls, because if you do that, we'll see the change we want. Because look at, for instance, we look at LGBTQ community. They literally took the playbook out of the civil rights and push that thing. When I was on Capitol Hill in '09, they're calling every single congressman saying, if you want our money, Obama, and if you want our votes, you better change the way you feel about same-sex marriage, right? And they
right.
got it done, right?
Mhm.
We have to keep that same heat and that same fire if we want things done. We can't just be excited or have this type of zeal when we see someone get shot in the back 7 times. We can't have the
Right.
same type of zeal when we see a recession happening. We have to keep the same zeal if we want the people to pay attention to our community and we want to force and use the power block that we have. Because Malcolm X said it, where we decide who's going to be in the White House and who's going to be in the outhouse. He
That's
said we
right.
decide that. And that's true. Where our votes go, look what happened to Joe Biden. Joe Biden, everybody thought he was on his way out. South
Yeah.
Carolina came around. What happened? We changed that
Yeah.
man's life.
Right.
Okay, so we need so we need to
Yeah.
understand we have that power, but we need to
Yeah.
keep
Right.
it and hold it and harness it. So yeah, man, go out,
Yeah.
go out, midterm election, come out with that fire.
That's right.
I remember having this conversation with one of my friends. He was like, Joe Biden ain't gonna pick no black woman. I was like, look at what we did for him in South Carolina. He
Yeah.
He gonna
understands
vote.
he understands he owes us one. So
Yeah.
he's gonna pick a black woman. I never doubted that for a minute. But yeah, we like Brandon just said, we gotta stay awake, we gotta stay woke, so to speak. We can't let this happen. We have to understand, like, what I do every year after election season
Hmm.
is I take a month detox.
Yeah.
So from election day,
That's
if
what
it's
I'm doing.
yeah. So if we win on November the 3rd, I'm gonna take a detox. The
Yeah.
day Joe Biden gets sworn in, the very next day, I'm back to work with every group I'm a part of.
Right.
And we're going to be trying to figure out how to keep this momentum up. Donald Trump, we can turn the last 4 years into a positive for society. I do think if Donald Trump loses, all that MAGA stuff will be looked upon like the swastika, the Confederate flag, all these
Mhm.
Confederate statues and stuff like that. I think all those MAGA emblems will be demonized if he loses.
Right.
And I do think that's going to happen. But we have to kind of stay on top of the ball with this, and we have to let people know that this kind of behavior is just not going to be acceptable. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
I'm gonna let you go in 1 second, Lashonda. My problem with Ice Cube in the first place, and not just him, there was a bunch of people. We cannot come to the table with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a racist. He's a xenophobe. He's a homophobe. He hates everything that's not white. And
Right.
And he's
if he doesn't,
self-absorbed.
yeah, he's very self-absorbed. We cannot go to the table with these kind of people because we're not going to get anything done. And never in history has it been acceptable to negotiate with racists. And
No.
that is kind of what like Ice Cube is saying, but not actually saying, but what
But
he's
he
trying
did
to
say
get on.
it. He
Yeah,
said that. He said that, and he used the LBJ example for
and
the
that's a
it,
horrible
no, right.
comparison if he did that.
Right.
Yeah,
It's definitely a horrible comparison. But I just want to say I
yeah.
agree with Brandon 110% about just political education, more awareness. I think also something that also helped in terms of just people becoming more informed and enlightened about politics was, believe it or not, this global pandemic. I think it has
Yes.
captured people's attention, so maybe people who weren't really, paying attention to politics before, now you're directly impacted by this pandemic, and so people are now looking to the government for that assistance and for that aid, and so people have a ear to politics now and have an interest. I know in my family in particular, my mom is on top of it like I've never seen before. Just watching it,
Right.
and just paying attention more. Even my father as well. So I know just a lot of people who have been more informed or it's captured their interest, the pandemic. So, yeah.
Okay, I have a point that I got to make real quick, and then we can start trying to wrap up. Okay, so I just got an email from one of my friends. He's not listening because we're not live at the moment, but he emailed me. What's the difference between Cardi B meeting with Joe Biden and Ice Cube trying to meet with Donald Trump? He's trying to get things done just like her. Let me
Mm.
tell you this, dumbass. Um, so this is
The
this is a this is
the
a
people.
difference. This is a difference, okay? Cardi B didn't go up to Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders
What a
with a
contract.
bullshit contract demanding shit. She went to them asking them questions. Ice Cube had a contract and got mad when a person that's not even in power said, "Hey, we wait until we win the election and we can talk about this." Joe Biden can't do jack at the moment. Okay, that's the difference.
Mhm.
This is the problem I think with a lot of black men in general. It's like the asks are completely different. Cardi B, I'm not. I don't know a lot of her music. I know the WAP song is popular, but I could at least with her. I could at least respect the fact that she had questions and she went up to Bernie Sanders. She went up to Joe Biden. She asked her questions. They answered her questions, and that was the end of the story. It's not the same as what Ice Cube did. Not even a little. So I had to get that out there.
No, that's real.
Yeah. So anyway, So I think that we should try to get one of these things done, like one of these conferences, out there to the public, maybe once a month or every other month or something, because I do think that we, especially considering our lots in life, have voices that need to be heard. I look at your guys' statuses all the time, and I'm like, man, more people need to see this and hear this,
Right.
and hear these messages and stuff. So there's strength in numbers. So hopefully we can kind of expand on our communities and get people to have have good discourse. It's like you might not
Right.
always agree 100% of the time, but the disagreements have to be disagreements within reason. We can't be
Yeah.
disagreeing. We can't have debates on is that racist or not when something clearly is racist. As
Right.
far as I'm concerned, go back to your country is racist. And I
Yeah.
don't remember a time when it wasn't racist, but because of who's in office right now, those statements are qualified. Well, he didn't mean that, or she didn't mean
No,
that.
we are a country of immigrants. Everybody had, I mean, with the exception of black people, everyone is an immigrant and are migrated here. So that doesn't even hold up. So go back to your country. Okay, well then go back to Ireland, go back to Italy, wherever you came from. Everybody here is immigrants. So that's the irony behind that whole immigration thing and go back to your country. I just think that's funny.
I think
Uh,
I think also it's very difficult to, I don't even want to say debate, have discourse with people who aren't trafficking in fact. If you're
right.
not trafficking or living in a factual reality, it's very difficult. And in today's society, you have people who are living in bubbles because of social media and because they listen to Fox News or MSNBC, whatever group, but Fox News and whatever radio station. And
Right.
because of that, they think QAnon is reality.
Yeah.
They think,
Right.
and that's a problem. I had someone tell me that Biden, it's all planned for Pelosi to set up the 25th Amendment against Biden, and he's going to step down for money, and Harris will be president, and that's the whole setup. I'm like, are you okay? Right? Like, it's hard. It's hard to have these. And I'm a moderate. Y'all know me. I'm moderate. I ain't no
Right.
far cat. I ain't never been, and I
Right.
probably never will. But I see the reasons why people will go far left. But I truly believe the answers are somewhere on the left, in the middle somewhere. But
Yeah.
those are, and we have to be bipartisan. But it's very difficult today because we're not dealing with the Republican Party anymore. We're dealing with the Freedom Caucus and the Tea Partyists that were sitting outside the Capitol Hill when I was walking up when I was 21 years old with signs that had Obama with a Hitler mustache.
Right.
Yeah,
Right?
one of the most
I don't
common
get that.
yeah, I don't get it either. And one of the most common things that are mentioned when I meet up with people from the Lincoln Project is they say just because Trump is not president anymore, it doesn't mean Trumpism is going to go away. And we always
Yeah.
have to make sure that that's bad. And we used to say in 2000, I was debating who was worse, Bush or Trump, up until this year, until the pandemic started. And then the pandemic started, and I see the way Trump handled that, and I had to tell my
Yeah.
girlfriend, "You were 100% right. Trump is clearly worse than Bush because Bush started that war
Can
that
you
I
imagine?
never got by."
Can you imagine saying that? Can you imagine saying that? In 2008, no one could stand Bush. Now,
Yeah,
because of Trump, Bush looks like your favorite grandfather.
Yes, he
I know,
does.
right? And that's the problem that I'm having too. Is I'm over here having to compliment Bush on these streets. There's something wrong with
Yeah.
that. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like, I,
Right.
yeah, I never had to do that. But at the very least, with Bush, I can say Bush would be telling people to wear a mask. And Bush was on the ball with pandemics way back in '03, '04.
Because he actually read books.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And so was Obama, and then Trump gets in office, and he comes with these. Well, this is the thing too. These evangelicals have put Donald Trump on the level of Jesus. They have deified him so much that they believe that that Jesus is directly talking to him and giving him directions. And that's why I don't mess with a lot of the evangelicals either. You know what I'm saying? Like the normal Christians like Brandon, I got nothing but time for, but I got no
I'm
time
I'm
for
a normal Christian.
and Lynn too, right? I got time for you guys. I got no time for these other fools on these
No,
streets, man. I
I
just
can't.
don't.
It,
Yeah,
it's scary, man. It's scary where we are in America because we're so polarizing, and we've retreated to our sides, and
Right.
that's not how you get policy done. You don't get policy done by saying we need a super majority to get everything passed. It takes some compromise because at the end of the day, if you're truly a person that want to see people live the so-called American dream, which is opportunities which African Americans have been, has been taken away from us since, after Civil War and beforehand. We know the history. But if you really want to see people have those opportunities, you have build the middle class and things of that nature, that means we all have the same goals. So if we all have the same goals, we should be able to sit at the table and figure out how we can get there. Obviously, I don't know it all. Obviously, the Republican Party doesn't know it all, and Democrat Party doesn't know it all. They have to work together, but it's impossible now because you have people not really telling the truth at all, and you're literally living in lies, and you're okay with it, and you accommodate lies from your leader because you just want to be in power. There was a
right,
time where if that Republican was shifty, like a Nixon, and you knew it just didn't make sense no more, yeah, they fought for him for a while, but once it really was like, dang, this don't make sense. Hey, he got to get out.
Right.
Where
right,
was that? Where was that when you found out that he was working with Russia in certain ways, where he had secret meetings with Putin, where he kept saying positive things about North Korea? Where was all that? That's the problem. And the funny thing is, the Republican Party was the strongest against Russia. They didn't even
Hmm.
want. They didn't even want. They didn't want Reagan to even meet with Gorbachev at all. But now you got somebody who's literally saying he's a strong guy. I like the way, like, where are we? Is this America? Like,
Hmm.
what? Like, bro, this is sad, bro. Like I don't even know what
No,
to say no more.
I mean it's true. It is very true. I mean, you know what? I was telling someone the other day. I said so much stuff has happened in our country in the last 3.5 years. Like,
You
I
forget.
mean,
yeah,
right? No, really though. When you think about it, the travel ban, the Muslim
Oh my
ban.
god.
I mean, it's just been so much stuff, and it's like I literally feel like I'm politically depressed. Like I
it is.
can't take it anymore.
I am politically depressed. I am politically drained.
Yes.
I am politically wary, and it's all
Mhm.
because of just the nonsense that's been going on this year, last year, and the year before. It's not just this year. It didn't start with the pandemic. The
No.
pandemic just kind of added
Exacerbated.
to it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where we are. So why don't we um I want to keep you guys on for a second. Let's cap this conversation, but before we go, let's just tell everybody how to how to find us. And and then I got some emails about you on the last episode where I interviewed you, Lynn. If someone wanted to know if you offer paralegal services to people out of state.
Depends on what they want, like what it is they're trying to do.
Okay.
So it would depend.
Okay. So there's your answer. So to that. Okay. So let's cap this off. Listen to Brandon's podcast, and Brandon, tell people where to find you and all that good stuff.
Okay, real quick, the Be Real podcast is a podcast a little bit about everything: politics, government, history, news. This is your one-stop shop. You can find me at B period REAL on pretty much Facebook, Instagram, and also on every major platform for podcasts. Also, I have a nonprofit called Push People United Servicing Hope that has a 9-point platform on police reform, and you can find that at pushchange.org. And other than that, yeah, that's where you can find me, Brandon Mosley, Mosley. Thank you.
Mhm. Yes,
All right.
hi, I'm Lynn Silverberg. You can find me. I have a blog, Urban Salt. You can find me at urbansalt.org or Instagram l.silverberg. Silverberg spelled Silverburg. Also, I have a paralegal service business. I'm a estate planner, so Silverberg Paralegal, silverbergparalegal.com.
Okay. And you can find me on the Twitter at KMEasyDoesIt. If you want to listen to my podcast, just do a Google search of Real Power Dynamics. It'll show up the first thing you find on Google. And we're on every single platform there is, I think, except for Podbean. But we're on Spreaker, we're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. So look for us there. I'm going to try to do these panel discussions, especially with Brandon and Lynn, like maybe once a month or something, just to get it out there. These are the most learned individuals in the field that I know, so I like having this discourse. Yeah, so they're going to stick around for a second, but we I will catch you on this is the soft launch of the next few episodes that I'm doing. So the season premiere of this podcast is going to be after the election. So stay tuned for that. I got a lot of big things coming up and all that good stuff. And hopefully I'll start getting ads and making money and paying everybody and all that good stuff. Peace out, you guys.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Peace. Peace.